Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. If you're new to the channel, I'm Anna. Lorena's Labyrinth is my baby, and this is where I put up a lot of information to make it more easily accessible for you. If you're a returning visitor, thank you. Thank you, new and old visitors or returning ones. Just a reminder, the people that are returning are going to know that I've got the dog, my little boy, and hopefully he's going to be quiet for this. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out to both the new and the returning visitors is the intention, and I spoke about this on the Sunday video on the yarning, that I would do watermelon tourmaline this week. Well, I kind of decided that before I did the watermelon tourmaline video, which is what I've had exposure to, I just love watermelon tourmaline, but actually I should refer back to the properties of the white and the pink before I start talking about watermelon tourmaline, which is why we've got the change today, and this is why we're going to be talking about green tourmaline today. And then the video after this, I think I'll do as pink tourmaline, and then I'll take a look at the watermelon tourmaline. So I've used my discretion here. I've made some changes. Also, before I start talking about it, just a reminder that I do put timing chapters in the description, so you can just jump to the areas of interest for you, just in case I go down that rabbit warren. So, of course, I don't know what your expectations are when we talk about green tourmaline, but for me, this is what I expect. This is when I'm looking for green tourmaline images, such as I was for this video, this was the kind of crystal that I was looking for. And so it's actually been a bit of an academic exercise for me today as well, because I saw that there's different types of green tourmalines, and we're going to talk about that later. But right now, this particular image, just for your information, yes, it is green tourmaline, but it's also known as chromium tourmaline, and that's because it's got chromium as part of its makeup. Now, I always knew since day dot, since the first time I was exposed to tourmaline, that particularly watermelon tourmaline can be very, very expensive, but so can green tourmaline, especially when it's of this quality, because apparently it's very popular with people. It's quite rare, and it can be sold for thousands of dollars. I'm just looking at my notes here to see if I put down the price of these particular images, which I didn't, but that's okay. I'll talk more about my experiences with tourmaline later on, and why I actually don't have any as part of my collection, which is a bit of a tragedy in itself, but I have been exposed to it and I do particularly love it. So, sticking with the routine of how I present the videos, I'll talk about the Zodiac first, and that green tourmaline is associated with the star signs Virgo, Libra and Capricorn. It is actually the birthstone, or a birthstone, for Libra, but clearly somebody along the way has decided that it's quite beneficial for Virgo and Capricorn. You know, as always, I'm not so convinced about that. I don't know how they reach those conclusions. I mean, you'll understand a little bit more in a moment. Oh, I'll jump ahead. I'll give you a taste test first. It's supposed to be quite a masculine crystal as far as masculine energy goes. And Virgo, while it's associated with this puritanical viewpoint, the Virgos are quite masculine energy, even if they're women. That's not to say that they can't be sensitive and feminine if they're ladies, or even gentlemen. But the thing is that they actually like their material pursuits. So when I talk about masculine energy, that's earthy energy. And if you look at your tarot deck, the Virgo and the Capricorn are both associated with material pursuits. So maybe it's about balancing some of those energies within those earth signs. And of course, the Libra fluctuates. They can be, very indecisive. So I can understand that the green tourmaline might actually be beneficial to them, to help them to ground and balance, and to make some decisions that they need to do, some of those hard decisions that they like to delay. Of course, that's a generic viewpoint. Sorry, it's where I sit. No apologies, actually. It is just where I sit. Most Libras know that they do struggle to make decisions because they don't enjoy confrontation, and they will often stay in situations for quite a while that have become unhealthy. They know it, but they choose to stay there until basically the universe will force their hand. So here again, we're looking at a different form of green tourmaline, but you will see that there's similarities between this and the first image that I showed you, which is the chroma tourmaline. This one would be called green tourmaline. It's got a different name as well. We'll talk about that when we talk about the mineral content. But from a metaphysical overview perspective, it's actually considered once again to be a stone of empowerment because it's got so many properties. And it is linked and associated, believed to be part of the divine masculine. Now, if we talk about the divine masculine, in many respects, we're talking about the feng shui symbol, which is the black and the white. And of course, that represents the white aspect of the yin yang. And that is the provide, protect type stuff. So it's about taking care of our base needs, I guess, and also escalating and enhancing our personal vibration. So it is considered and believed to link a person to their higher self aspect. It's considered to be a powerful crystal of protection, even a shamanic stone. It's believed to be a conduit of healing energy and to help a person to achieve self-mastery. So going to the mineral component, or how tourmaline forms, it actually grows on a matrix rock. It's one of those that we call having a host rock, and I've got some images of that in a moment. But the difference between the chroma tourmaline, sorry as I stumble over my words, and general green tourmaline is that actually it's in the chemical makeup or structure, where anything that doesn't have chromium in it is still a green tourmaline, but it's known as verdolite. The green tourmaline with the chromium in it, that's the chroma tourmaline. So that's the difference. But either way, I should say a little bit more than that. You can identify the chroma from the verdolite because the chroma has got that brilliance of colour. So you can get green tourmaline that's actually cheaper than the chromium one, but because that chromium one is easily mistaken, well, I shouldn't say mistaken, apparently it's a cheaper substitute. I would not use the word cheap, but for emeralds of course are very pricey, and the chromium tourmaline is obviously a lot cheaper, but it's still extremely expensive. Anyway, look, it's got a hardness of 7 to 7.5. Yes, it comes in shades of green. We're talking green tourmaline here, not the chromium. Just be aware, I've got to differentiate that. The chromium one has the brilliant green like the emerald. Everything else is green and various shades of green, and it's called verdolite. Now, of course, it has translucency to it. You can see here that there's translucency. What else have I got here in my notes? Just, I think the key to be aware of is, even if you buy the very small pieces, they're all in this elongated pencil-like crystal structure, because that's how it forms when it grows. And I just want to point out that with this image here that I've got, just to give you an idea, this is actually on sale on the website, and it's not being sold as green tourmaline. It's actually being sold as bicolor, and I had to take a really good look at it to establish, yes, look, okay, there is a bit of discoloration. Well, it looks like discoloration in the image, but it's actually starting to turn pink at that end, and at the top of it, it's got some other changes happening there with the color as well, which is why they call it bicolor. Bicolor. But for me, when I look at that, I think it's a particularly pretty piece. But to put this into perspective, this one has obviously got a good seller. The seller is saying where they sourced the crystal from. It apparently comes from, I'm not sure about pronunciation here, Paprok in Afghanistan, and it's on the sale in Australia, or Australian dollars, for 16,000 Australian dollars on sale. Its listed price was $20,000. But to put this into perspective, or to help, right, it's actually only 138 grams, and its dimensions are 83 millimeters by 28 by 24. So that gives you an idea of what you can expect to be paying for a legitimate piece of really good quality green tourmaline or chrome. Excuse me. Sorry, I went for a croak. Had to have a cough. We've got really changing weather here at the moment, and I've noticed it's starting to hit my lungs a little bit. But anyway, yes, that should give you an idea of the prices for chroma tourmaline as opposed to the verdolite. So on this image here, what I've done is tried to show the difference side by side of some chrome tourmaline, because these are all green tourmalines, next to Canadian verdolite. Now, verdolite can come from anywhere, by the way, not just Canada, but it's the difference between chroma and verdolite is what I'm trying to show. But you also get verdolite in a number of different colours. The reason I think it's important is because it's that case of knowing what you're paying for. If I had unlimited funds, I would have no issue paying, $10,000, $25,000 that they're asking for the chrome tourmaline. However, I would take real issue to paying for chrome tourmaline and getting a piece of verdolite, because verdolite is a lot more common. The other thing that's important from what I was able to find out is whether it's verdolite or chroma tourmaline. And I should actually put a disclaimer in here. I am not a geologist or gemologist or anything like that. But what I did, there's no buts about it, I definitely am not. So I'm open, I'm inviting people that actually have the qualifications to make a comment here. But what I was going to say is that what I saw online is, yes, there are fakes around, okay? Very much so. When you're talking about big bucks for the chroma tourmaline, you're going to find people that are manufacturing it synthetically or whatever. And what I saw was, to be able to tell the difference, there's a whole heap of information out there, a raft of it, that you could go and Google. But I think one of the most important, easiest factors for somebody like you or me that is a layperson is that apparently the structure of these crystals is pretty well a dead giveaway. There are other methods of testing, which is scratch tests, etc. But without actually damaging the crystal and doing anything to it. Apparently one of the key factors is actually to hold it up to the light, because it's apparently the type of crystal, the way it forms, whether it's this chroma or whether it's the verdolite. We can't see on the chroma one that it's an elongated pencil type thing, but the crystal structure, even if it's a small one, will have the internal makeup that when you hold it up to the light, lengthwise, no, not lengthwise, try and visualize holding the pencil up, but not pointing downwards, pointing across. What's that, horizontal? Yes, horizontal. Try imagine holding the pencil up, but it's actually your tourmaline. And then as you turn that tourmaline or turn that pencil, the light will shine through the tourmaline, but there's apparently a central matrix or something like that. They call it the C-axis. And as you turn it, this is apparently one of the really interesting factors about tourmaline, is that it will block the light at some stage. So you can turn it and you should be able to have the light passing through it. Then when you get to the C-axis, it should no longer be transparent. You won't be able to see through it. And so that means that it is a genuine piece of tourmaline. However, if it's been manufactured from glass, because apparently that's what they do a lot of the time, but there's different ways of making it. I think another one I saw was that they crush apatite down and then restructure that and try and pass that off as verdolite as well. So anyway, if they've manufactured it from glass, it is absolutely not going to show. Of course, the best buying tip of all is to buy from a verifiable seller, somebody that's reputable, someone you can just go and do that Google. I saw online there's a number of them that are out there, and they actually, I think what actually sets them apart from other retailers is they actually give you the information on their website as to how to identify the real from the fake. And to me, that always speaks volumes about the seller, especially if you're getting consistent information from one supposed, I say supposed because you've got to be a little bit skeptical with anything, especially with these kind of prices. If you're getting consistent information across, say, gemologist websites or lapidarists, then you pretty well can be sure that when you go to a retailer, if they've got that information up, that what you're buying is the real deal. You'd like to think anyway. But of course, there's no, I can't recommend anybody particularly. You have to use your discretion. So when it comes to the spiritual metaphysical attributes, obviously, once I mention things like the divine masculine energy, that pretty well immediately tells you it's a stone of manifestation, protection, prosperity, abundance, right work, right conditions, all of that kind of thing that we actually need to survive and walk the physical earth. Straight off the bat, we get that. But the other thing is it's considered to be a gateway stone to Gaia, the nature kingdom, the devas, and the earth elementals. And I can understand people sort of saying, what? If it's a masculine stone, why have we got Gaia as part of this, or Gaia, however you pronounce it? And the bottom line is, do you know any mothers? Okay, we all carry feminine and masculine within us. So even Gaia, Mother Earth, has protective masculine attributes to her energy, shall we say. So yes, it is considered to be a gateway crystal also to the earth environment. What else can I say? It's supposed to encourage people to do botanical type pursuits. That might be working in the garden. It could be studying herbalism, anything that helps to sustain and maintain the planet. It's going to encourage that kind of thing. It's also believed to help a person raise their awareness, connect with their higher self, align themselves with divine will, and raise their personal vibration, and promote this knowledge seeking as well, understanding. It's supposed to also be an if I can speak, I'm stumbling over my words, electromagnetic frequencies, the EMF, purifying what's going on in the environment and acting as a protection against any harmful electromagnetics, like if you live under power lines and stuff like that. It's also believed to be a really good channeling tool if you're doing healing. So for the metaphysical workers that do healing, then they would I guess be able to use it as part of their channeling tools, like wands, just as a conduit. So from a manifestation perspective, it's said to help a person focus on what it is they're trying to achieve, to hold that vision, focus on it, almost with tunnel vision, basically, like locking on until it's completed. So that could be the completion of study goals, it could be spiritual goals, it could be your business and prosperity things. Some people, they have a regular day-to-day job, but they've got this dream job or a hobby. It could be jewelry making is the first thing that comes to mind. And basically it could be this inherent desire to convert that hobby into being a full-time business so they can do what they love, because of course that's always rewarding for the soul. So it's basically said to help a person to achieve that. I would consider it to be a crystal of self-mastery, actually, as in self-mastery, power of the mind, being able to dedicate the mind power to what it is that you're trying to achieve. Now, the other thing is, of course, it's said to act as a magnet to good luck and good fortune, and even abundance and prosperity. Now, I did mention on the other slide, it is also called a shamanic protection stone, and it's supposed to be recommended for scrying. I say supposed to because this is where I sort of look at things and I go, well, shall I include that? It's not part of my experience. It's not something I can resonate with, but maybe other people out there, maybe yourself, has had an opportunity to scry. The reason why I question it is because I've actually never seen a piece that was really big. The biggest piece that I saw was that one that was 10 centimeters long, that was watermelon. And even still, it was about pencil width, just slightly larger than your average pencil. And to me, I don't see how that can be used as a scrying tool, but whatever, might be different for other people. It's supposed to help a person energetically to be able to identify the problems, the blocks, the barriers to achieving goals so that they can actually find the solutions and work through them. So before we talk about the physical healing attributes, just a reminder that crystals should not replace your professional medical treatment. Okay, you've got to have a bit of common sense here, which is you can use your crystals as a complement, but don't disengage from medical treatment and rely on your crystal or energy work alone. Okay, that's the first thing. And disclaimer here, if you choose to do that and just stick to crystals, then that's on you. Okay, that's your choice. Don't come back at me. says me, gee, I'm feeling a bit aggressive perhaps this morning. I'm not sure. Anyway, getting into it, when we talk about the physical properties, there's a lot of attributes here. And as I said, look, I've not owned any. So with this particular crystal, it really is reliant on people giving their feedback and what I find online. So anyway, it's said to balance the left and right hemispheres. It's supposed to be helpful for neural repatterning, which that can be the pathways. If you've got things like anxiety disorders or whatever, that's got neural pathway stuff happening. So it's supposed to help a person to build those new neural pathways to health and well-being. And also if they've got neuropathic dysfunction, anything like that, it's supposed to help. If you've got poor hand-eye coordination, it would be recommended to you. If you've got dyslexia, it's supposed to help with the eyes, so it might help with the processing there. It's said, this is the one where I always do the really big disclaimer on, it's supposed to be beneficial for people that have cancer to help treat it. I don't know, maybe treatment and recovery, but cellular regeneration is supposed to be one of the gifts that it gives. So if you've got any cellular type disorders or disease, it's supposed to help there. You could give it a try and let us know how it works for you. It's recommended for people that suffer from chronic fatigue and exhaustion because it's considered to revitalise a person's energy fields, give them more vitality, help with that, life force stuff, and to give them stamina and endurance. So it's recommended for those people that do physical work or labour, and also for sports people or anybody that does some really physical work. If you think about it, anyone that performs on a stage doing concerts and stuff like that, they've got to have the endurance as well. You know what I mean? If they're out there and they're talking or singing on stage and dancing around and all the rest of it, I mean, that's a workout in itself. Okay, so it's said to be good for your heart and blood, helping to purify the bloodstream, regulate the blood flow and oxygenation. Excuse my dog. Now, where was I? I had to obviously stop to sort him out. Let's hope he'll be quiet now. Okay, so it's recommended for people who've got problems with their hair and nails, and if they've got immune disorders, so that's obviously associated with hair and nail health as well. People with diabetes would probably benefit from it, as would people that have got thyroid conditions, because it's said to help glandular function. Actually, if they're recovering from glandular fever and conditions like that, then it would be considered to be beneficial. Other interesting things is it's supposed to help with weight loss and obesity if you suffer from that. If you've got motion or travel sickness, or you get it, if you're going on a journey, you might want to wear some as a talisman. People with bowel disease and disorders, they would be recommended to use it because it's supposed to be beneficial for digestive problems, and obviously waste. And I mentioned eye health. It's supposed to also help to have quality sleep in the evening. And of course, to have really good sleep is essential to all of us. If you get some really good quality sleep, it doesn't matter if you have 4 or 5 hours, as long as it's quality sleep. You can bounce out of bed and get back on with the next day. So I did mention anxiety on the previous page, which is, of course, is the neural pathways. But there are more benefits for people that suffer from anxiety disorders and claustrophobia, panic attacks, phobias, all of that kind of thing. And that's because it's believed to soothe them. If people become consumed by worry, it's believed to actually calm them down. And if you've got these extreme disorders, shall we say, the claustrophobia and the phobias, it's said to help reduce them and also calm them down. It's believed to be an emotional stabilizer. So if you suffer from mood swings, then it will help to balance those out. So it might be recommended for those people with conditions such as bipolar. Is that still the word that they use? They change words all the time because it becomes politically incorrect. Perhaps emotional dysregulation might be one that we could say it would be beneficial for anybody with that kind of diagnosis, that they actually wear it as a pendant or jewellery. Honestly, you would not find... I've seen some bracelets being sold as green tourmaline, and I just find that very difficult to believe it. That it's genuine is where I'm going. Okay, so it's said to offer some really deep emotional and physical healing, to root out the emotional causes, not only of physical illness, but also of emotional trauma. So it's said to be beneficial for people that have had trauma, especially if it's really deep and low down and subconscious, to help heal that and release it. It's believed to be an enhancer of relationships because it promotes love and it encourages emotional responsibility. So at the risk of sounding like I'm going on a lecture here, I think it's really important in modern times that people realise that their feelings are their feelings and accept them. Nobody makes us feel anything, okay, because we're responsible for our own emotional responses. Other people will do things. They may have questionable motives. A lot of the time people just do things because they're caught up in their own world. But where I'm going with this is when we take emotional responsibility for how we feel, we accept and recognise that people are what they are. We're not all compatible. We may not all have the same moral value, but that doesn't make that person a bad person. It just means they're not part of our tribe. And we might decide to move on from them. We might decide to stick around and just accept that's who and what they are and be able to see their good attributes instead of judging them as being lacking in some way. There becomes that acceptance, shall we say, but that becomes a personal decision. But it stops us blaming other people for, you made me feel X and Y when you said, no, you chose to feel X and Y when they said, why don't you explore what that's about? Why do you feel that way? Okay, you've got a very deep underlying issue here, and it could be, gosh gee, your father issues. That might be part of it. I say father issues because green tourmaline is the crystal that actually helps a person to heal father issues. And you can tell the difference between father issues and mother issues that are unresolved. This is just a tip, and this is my understanding. I'm interested in your feedback. My belief and understanding here is that father issues manifest as problems forming committed relationships and partnerships with people, and that can be having tense relationships with your own children, whether you're a mother or father. That can be those relationships with them. Whereas mother issues tend to, which is quite interesting because it's not what people would expect. If you've got mother issues, that tends to manifest itself in a person's life where they actually struggle to do that financial stuff, to look after that provide and protect aspect. So the father issues, when we heal them, you're going to see healthier relationships in your life. So that's just a little tip there. What else have I got written down here? Just, yes, obviously it helps to enhance your decision making. Hyperactive children, it's believed to be calming. For that mind chatter, that negative mind script that just goes in the background, it's supposed to quieten that down. When we talk about the nervous system here, when it comes to the emotional stuff, that's a purification of the mind and the emotional responses, and so it's said to help there. When used with the pink, okay, the pink tourmaline and the green tourmaline used together is said to create joy because it brings in balance. The pink, obviously, I'll talk about that next, but that's more feminine energy. Anyway, the other thing is it's supposed to help with the power of the mind, the ability to be able to study and concentrate, especially if you're doing studies such as plants, the botany, biology, anything to do with herbal medicines or homeopathy. It's supposed to help with that because I think that's all part of planetary evolution. I can't think of anything else here. But if you think of something, by all means, make a comment, let us know. I know what I was going to say, I forgot. Right, when we're looking at crystals and we're being intuitive and we reflect and meditate and that kind of thing, sometimes we actually, well, I know for me, sometimes I find the information before I've actually gone and researched it, just through doing that reflection upon the crystal, what it looks like, where it's sourced, what the colours of it are. and the story that the crystal will tell me before I actually look into the properties of it. And this is the same when we talk about the chakras. When you get an understanding of the attributes of the crystal and all the information that I've said, then you start to understand, well, actually, it's more than just the heart chakra. So when we talk about green tourmaline, you will see online, I think it's primarily associated with the heart chakra. A lot of people don't talk about the higher heart chakra. I do, because it's very important. And because to me, the heart chakra, the emerald green, really does talk about compassion, empathy, understanding, acceptance, forgiveness, and all the rest of it for other people, okay, toward other people. When we talk about the higher heart chakra, that's where we're talking about pain, anxiety. That's where the phobias sit. And just to be clear about this, it's not standalone. If you've got anxiety or any of those disorders, then it's actually sitting there in that higher heart and the orange chakra, right, which is your fears, and also the throat chakra, because the throat chakra is where we express. So straight off the bat, we're talking anxiety, we're talking throat. In fact, actually, the three upper chakras, we're talking about the orange chakra. When we're talking about connecting to Gaia energy or earth energy, we are talking about the Earth Star chakra or base. Some people call, or if people don't know about the Earth Star, they will say base, the base chakra. So it is the base chakra, because anything that connects to the Earth Star is going to pass down through the base chakra. And then when we're talking about connecting to our higher self aspect, we're talking about going up through the brow chakra and the crown chakra. So I think there we have actually mentioned almost all of them. The only one we haven't talked about is the yellow chakra. And at the end of the day, that one's about stepping into your personal power. So I think we can comfortably say the green tourmaline works with all of the chakras. It's a whole structured approach. It's incredible anyway. So advance notice here, this is a re-recording. This is one of those situations where you get to the end of your video, you record all your slides, and then when you go to do the timing chapters, you realise that, hello, one of the slides or one of the recordings didn't upload. So anyway, where I'm going with this is when we talk about uses, it is recommended obviously for an environmental purifier to absorb negativity. You can have it as an ornament. I'm not sure how. To be honest, if I had it, because of the way tourmaline forms, and in my experience and understanding, it doesn't grow into really big ones, so you don't see it as carved. What I would probably do if I was lucky enough to be able to afford one of those really good specimens, I would have it as an ornament in a display case, protected from the environment actually, but not to do environmental purification. I mean, each to their own. I would probably use it for meditation. You could hold your little specimen while meditating. And as a jewellery item, the care has to be taken. I think I forgot to mention in this video that it has flaws apparently that creates challenges for those people that do the carving of the crystals into actually pendants and rings. So it can crack and break. So you want to have it created or as part of a jewellery item where the crystal is protected, like with this ring here. This ring, for your information, I saw it advertised for about $380. I absolutely love it. And the crystal is protected from any knocks and bangs. That would be the first thing. Silver also has, and so does gold, has healing metaphysical attributes as well. So the other tip too, when you buy it with jewellery, apparently if you have it wire wrapped, it can actually damage the crystal. That's the other thing. So you could use it for gridding. It is actually recommended to be used as a wand. I would say it wouldn't be a carved wand, it would be that pencil wand, just in the normal uninterrupted state. Is that the word that we use? I can't think. But basically just in its natural form, because it comes as a pencil and it's going to have pointed ends and perhaps, I don't know, when I say pointed, not carved pointed, I forgot to mention that it is It's got the flat tip on it. I can't remember how to describe it or what it's called specifically. But yes, you could use it as a wand. Most of the time, those wands will be broken off at one end where it's come away from the actual matrix rock. So you would also be able to use them as part of your gridding sessions. But I think I would probably be more inclined to use it for meditation. It is recommended, I did see that it is recommended to wear as a talisman to absorb negativity. I don't know about that. I don't know that I would wear it for those purposes, but each to their own. I welcome your thoughts on how you might use green tourmaline. So when it comes to green tourmaline as a messenger, I think whether it is the chroma or whether it is the verdolite type tourmaline, it's all going to give the same thing, which is about stepping up into your personal power, learning to take care of yourself. And this is because it's such a masculine energy. Now, that could be actually going and doing some form of study. And it doesn't mean that you've got to go and do a 4-year degree. You know, it could be something like if you're into essential oils and you love them, which I do as well, it could mean, you know what, go and study that. It might be a 6-week course. Go and look into it. You know, if you're into soap making, something that you do as a hobby that you just purely enjoy, just go and do some formal training on it. Build your knowledge base so that you can actually incorporate that in your lifestyle. And who knows, you might end up being able to convert that into a business opportunity down the track. And just remember that when we are able to work at what it is that we love and we feel passionate about, then it's kind of like filling our cup with joy. Work is no longer a chore, and we become happier within ourselves, and our relationships all invariably improve. So when it comes to tourmaline, whether it's green or any other colour, it does pick up on negative energy, so it's got to be cleansed regularly from a metaphysical perspective. If you're not looking to do the metaphysical, if you're just into crystals in general or you just like it or whatever, I'm surprised you're watching this video. But the bottom line is, well, okay, you don't have to do this if you don't want to do the energy cleansing. But if you are going to, if you've got, say, tourmaline rings or whatever, then you would avoid putting them in things like an ultrasonic cleanser and or exposure to chemicals. Take it off if you're going to go swimming in chlorine, things like that. And if you've got them set in jewelry, you might want to take it to a jeweler and get it done properly. By the way, one of the big cautions there is when you're buying your jewelry, if you're having it set as a pendant or whatever, is that you would avoid wire wrapped or what they call the tension settings, because they actually might damage the actual crystal itself. What else have I got here? I'm just thinking about those people that aren't into the metaphysical. Just buy from a reputable seller and just be mindful, be very cautious. Make sure that you're buying the real deal. Now, for those of us that are in the metaphysical stuff, the recommendation is that you clean your tourmaline weekly, okay? If you're wearing it frequently. Otherwise, they say monthly is enough. Now, once again, I'll probably argue that because it depends on what field of work you're in. When I was working with homeless people, or when I was working doing human services, I was working with a lot of people with violence and addiction, homelessness, and all of those nasties, shall we say, the nasty stuff that they're exposed to, which is the real pointy end of life. Now, if I was wearing green tourmaline as a protection stone, I reckon I would be taking that off every day when I came home from work and putting it on selenite, because that's what I tend to do, is lay everything on the polished selenite. Now, I use selenite not just for cleansing, but also recharging. Okay, so it's up to you. It's at your discretion as to what you feel selenite can offer you. But I believe it's a recharger as well. But that's where I allow myself to be guided. I think if I had what I call a working crystal, one that I wear every day, then I would probably actually expose that for very brief periods, because I'm in Australia, to a little bit of sunlight. Definitely to moonlight on a full moon. I love the moonlight. I call it moon bathing. Sunlight, I'd be very careful of though, because obviously I am in Australia. We've got very harsh sunlight, and a lot of people don't realise that even if we're sitting in a shaded area, say under a grapevine, there is what becomes filtered sunlight. So that's perfectly fine for our crystals in Australia to get exposure to sunlight, to have it filtered. And I think I learned about that, truth be told. After I had a baby, we were living up north, and my firstborn was born with jaundice. Now, if you live overseas, you probably put your babies in the humidity cribs and under the lights. Well, here in Australia, we just go and park it outside for, 15 minutes or 5 minutes a day. But when you've got that really harsh sunlight, so for me, it was like, no, just park the baby in the undercover area. It'll get the filtered sunlight. And in fact, actually, I only had to do it for 2 days, and all that jaundice went away. So that's how we do things differently. But anyway, I've totally gone off down that rabbit warren I warned you about. Back to tourmaline. Yes, I think it can cope with filtered sunlight. However, use your discretion. Be mindful. So my friends, that is it for this video. I have given you all the information that I can give you about green tourmaline. I look forward to your responses. I'm hoping that you'll be able to add to them. Until then, the next video I'm going to load will be pink tourmaline. And then I'll do the watermelon tourmaline. But until then, anyway, take care. Have a blessed day, blessed week. See you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.